Good morning, it's Elle Ingalls at pressure-free.com and broadcasting here from the Cereal City, Battle Creek, Michigan. For those of you who are coming on live, thank you so much for watching my show. For those of you who are watching the replay later, thank you so much. For those of you who are new to the show, Living Pressure Free is my morning 10 a.m. show. I do it every day to give you tips, tell you more about the pressure-free method, which is an on-the-go stress management method that I created in 2010. Hi Laurel, thank you for coming on. This is National Suicide Prevention Week, and when I do my show I tend to kind of focus on something for a period of days. So this week I'm going to honor the memory of someone who left us due to suicide. I'm going to share some stories about that, some tips and some actions that you can take. You know, it is tragic, and if you know of someone who has lost someone to suicide, well, any death of course is tragic, but when a death is taken by the own person, it can be really, really tragic, and there can be so much guilt about it for those of us left behind. So that's going to be my focus this week, and I'm also going to provide some very specific tips to help out. I participate with events with the West Michigan Mental Health Foundation, and they do a wonderful program in the schools called Be Nice. And although I'd probably change it up a little bit, because sometimes when you tell people to do something, someone like me has like this visceral reaction, don't tell me what to do, right? So I'd be like, well, I don't know, I'd come up with something, being nice, maybe being nice. What does it mean to be nice? And NICE is an acronym. I'm going to focus on the N today, which is to notice. Hi Kathy, hi Heather Ann, thank you so much for joining. Notice. And first I'd like to share a personal reflection of a time I went to the University of Michigan, a time that I was at school, in college. And just a little background, I came from a very small town. It was New Hampshire's capital of 30,000, but I went to the University of Michigan, which has more students than the population of my city. So it was a huge culture change for me, and I absolutely loved it. I loved it there. I felt like I'm just where I was supposed to be. It was incredibly challenging though, and for anyone that you know who's going to college, you know, once you leave your high school, perhaps you did really well in high school, but you get to college and everyone did really well in high school. And I remember getting my first B. It was in an honors classic studies course, and it kind of blew me away that I got a B on a paper. I was pretty concerned about that. And I know for a lot of high achieving students and high achievers in general, if you are a high achiever, if you attempt to do something and you don't get the results that you want, it can be very disheartening. And freshman year was pretty great, but I got to sophomore year, and you know, I was a very talented musician back home. I got to the University of Michigan where everyone plays extremely well, and I remember hitting a period where I no longer felt I was good enough, seriously not good enough. And I didn't really leave my dorm room except to go use the bathroom for 3 days. I lived in a single. So I want to talk about the Be Nice campaign and the letter N, to notice. Hi Debbie, thank you for joining. The N in notice. I often feel that nobody noticed that I wasn't coming out of my dorm room. Nobody noticed that I wasn't at meal times. No one on my floor, even right around me, noticed that I wasn't going to class. You know, University of Michigan, it's huge classes. You can miss a few days, no one would even notice. Maybe they'll never even notice that you aren't in class. And so, and of course I might have just been sick, and so you might not go to class for a few days. The first person to notice that I was AWOL was Professor Makonovitsky. For my musician friends from Michigan who come on this broadcast, you will know him well. He called me and he said, this is the days where the phones were on the wall, you know, old days, and he called my dorm room and he said, Miss Starrett, you've been missing. You missed your lesson and you missed rehearsal today, and I'm concerned. Somebody was concerned. Oh, Rob, you just joined. Makonovitsky did this for me. Can you believe it? Nobody noticed that I wasn't at school but him. He called me. And we had this long talk, and I was very honest with him. I cried. I said, I just feel that I'm not good enough. I'm not a good enough musician. God, I'm about to tear up. And he helped me believe in myself. He was there for me. He noticed me. So there are people in your life who need to be noticed. And you may be the one person that keeps them, hi, good morning, Laurel, that keeps them from doing something that's irreparable. So he noticed. He noticed me, and then I had a long talk with my then boyfriend, who's now my husband, and he got me to leave my room. I was eating, by the way, I was eating apples and peanut butter sandwiches. That was all I had in my room, or like a bag of apples and some peanut butter and bread. So I think that is really important for you to consider. Is there someone that needs you to notice them? And what are you noticing? Just it's subtle, you know. Are they not showing up to things? Are they kind of shutting themselves in or shutting themselves down emotionally? You can look for that too. I want to share one more story because I read this morning in doing some research that this is from MIT, but MIT's Asian American suicide rate is 4 times the national average. And I go back to my time at Michigan. That very same year that I was going through my difficult time, I was the dorm librarian. I was one of the dorm librarians. And so I made a lot of friends in the dorm and knew a lot of people. And there was this one really sweet young woman. She was from Hawaii. She's Japanese American. And she had never been away from home. She was from Hawaii going to the University of Michigan. She was an engineering student, but a very talented pianist. And as a violinist, we used to play together in our dorm. We had a beautiful grand piano in Helen, Newberry, and we would play together. And spring break, the only students left in the dorm were those who can't go home. That was me and a few others, mostly foreign students, and of course, this young woman. And I noticed every morning she was like leaving early in the morning and then coming back in the evening, and the dorm cafeterias were closed, so we were kind of on our own for food. And so just kind of noticed this. And on Thursday night, I was leaving to go visit my boyfriend in another city, who became my husband. Thursday night, I get a phone call from her on a lower floor, and she goes, "Can I come up to your room and see you?" And I'm like, "Sure." And she came up and she goes, I go, "What have you been doing all week? I see you leaving early in the morning and you're not coming back till like evening." And she goes, "Well, I'm looking for a job because my parents said I can't come home for the summer. They don't want to spend all that money for plane tickets for me to go home to Hawaii, so I'm trying to find a job for the summer." Now, she was not an American citizen. She was Japanese citizen. She had no work experience, and she's walking around Ann Arbor, Michigan, trying to find a job. So all of a sudden, she starts crying. And by the way, I was like the second person in her life to ever give her a hug. She had a nanny when she was little, but her parents didn't really have much physical touch between them. And so I was like, I found this out from her. I was like the second person in her whole life to actually really give her a solid hug. Anyway, she starts crying, and she goes, "I've done something terrible." And she lifts up her wrists, and she's slit her wrists. She slit them sideways, okay, but there was still a little bit of bleeding. Not really bad, but she goes, I cannot tell anyone. I cannot go to health services. They will tell my parents, and I will disgrace my family. And I can't tell anyone. She goes, so you have to keep this secret from me. And I was like, oh my gosh, what do I do? I'm a college student. What do I do? So here's the first thing that I did. First of all, I was noticing her. She came to me for help. Secondly, I called my mother and I said, I have my friend from Hawaii here. Can she come home to New Hampshire for this summer with us? Of course, my mother said yes. So it's like, I just looked at her and said, you have a place this summer. If you can't find a job, don't worry about it. You can come home with me. So I gave her hope. So sometimes we all just need a tiny sliver of hope in order to get us through a tough time. Now, I've got a bus ticket to leave in the morning. I didn't want to leave this girl. But she goes, no, I'm going to be fine. So this is what I did. I keep my journal writer. I had an extra journal. I gave her a journal. And I said, I want you to write to me every day, maybe twice a day. I'm going to be back Sunday night. I want you to write to me every day. and I'm going to call you. So so that's what we did. On Sunday night when I got back, I was really concerned about her wrist. I said, you're going to have to go to health services, and I convinced her to go. We went to, I took her first to the RA, and I said, I explained everything, you know. So anyway, she got to health services. They did call her parents. Her parents said, of course she could come home to Hawaii. You know, it all got worked out. And but there was a bad result. She had slit a nerve in her wrist, so she was no longer able to play piano the way she used to. Now, she was an engineering student. She could have easily been a music major. She could have gone into music. She was very, very talented, but she was an engineering major. And but still, like, we never played again. We never played together again. I want to look her up because I saw her like a year later. She had this American boyfriend. Everything was cool. She's doing really well in engineering. But sometimes we just need that sliver of hope and someone to notice us. And oftentimes the signs that someone is struggling, you don't even know. Nobody knew that I was struggling. Nobody knew that I was struggling. Nobody knew this other girl was struggling. The other thing is, it never dawned on me that I had a mental health issue. Not at all. So we talk about, the stigma of mental health. I just felt like I wasn't good enough. Like I was going to have to make a serious decision, maybe leave school. I don't know. I don't know what I was going to do, but I didn't feel comfortable even going to rehearsal or going to the music school. I felt that, inadequate at the time. So sometimes people don't even seek out mental health the way they should. And that's why we're trying to stomp out the stigma with the West Michigan Health Foundation and the Be Nice campaign. It's okay to reach out for help. But, oftentimes when we're in that situation, we're so anxious and depressed, it's hard to even do that. So if someone notices, that can be huge. It can be life-saving. I worked with a client, a freshman at a college, and he actually wrote his last freshman essay about our relationship and my coaching for him. And this is what he titled it. He had to title it, they were reading the book, This I Believe. And the title of his essay was, This I Believe, Pressure-Free Living Saved My Life. And he read his essay out loud to his class, his writing class. And it was about our relationship and how I helped him get the help that he needed. Sometimes people will go to a coach first and then get deeper help if that's what they need. So if you know of anybody who's struggling with anxiety, who's struggling with some depression, they don't want to go see someone else yet, maybe they'll come to me first and then I can help them get the help they need. That's happened for several of my clients, and it's such a wonderful thing. So, there is this stigma. We have to stomp it out because we're losing people. And today I'm honoring an MIT student because back in February I was at my coach's retreat event, and I met another person in our retreat in our coaching program together, and she is an MIT grad and fabulous, incredible young woman. And she shared with me how many attempted suicides were happening at MIT when she was there, just on her own dorm floor. And it's huge. College students are under so much pressure, and it's self-induced pressure. It's not necessarily, from professors or parents or anything. We're just high achievers. It's who we are. We want to do so well. So Molly shared this with me, and she said, you need to help these students because it's performance oriented. They'll listen. They want to perform at a higher level. That's what this is all about. So I want to read this because Phoebe Wong passed away in 2014. And there's so much about her that's like me. First of all, she was a musician. She also worked in the music library. After the dorm library, I worked at the music library at Michigan, an amazing place. And I'm sure it is at MIT also. But I want to read this. This is a statement from MIT in 2014. MIT President Raphael Reif notified the MIT community of the loss of sophomore Phoebe Wong. I can't believe she was a sophomore too. Reif extended MIT's deepest condolences to her family and friends. The remembrance below was provided to MIT News by Phoebe Wong's family. So Phoebe Wong, 18, a sophomore at MIT, a born builder and a lover of nature and of classical music, passed away around Sunday, September 21st in her dorm. Phoebe died peacefully. She leaves her parents, Andrew and Ying Mei, 3 grandparents and 2 aunts. Phoebe was born in Lafayette, Indiana on October 28, 1995. She spent her early years living with her parents and grandmother in Indiana, Texas, and China, finally settling in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. After completing middle school, Phoebe moved to Wayne, Pennsylvania with her family, graduating in 2013 from Conestoga High School with the All-School Scholar Award and the Rochester Institute of Technology Innovative and Creativity Award. In fall 2013, Phoebe started her undergraduate studies at MIT. Known for her sense of humor and curiosity, Phoebe is remembered for her quick wit and deep desire to explore. When she was young, Phoebe owned several sets of Barbie dolls. She would take off their clothes to trim, sew, and tape each piece into some new style. She would then repeat this process again later to create more designs after disassembling and mismatching her dolls. There was a running joke in the family that the Wongs had a Phoebe doll shop in their house. A longtime lover of nature, Phoebe enjoyed exploring the woods in her neighborhood. She traveled extensively around the country, visiting many national parks and landmarks. Phoebe also loved to hike local trails. One time, Phoebe told her mother that she was going for a short walk outside. Several hours later, she had still not returned. Her mom finally reached her via cell phone. It turned out that she decided to check out all of the Valley Forge National Park trails in one hike that day. During her exploration of the outdoors, Phoebe collected many relics, including rocks, old coins, and pieces of stained glass. They now are a part of her bedroom decor, along with her origami, another passion of Phoebe's. When Phoebe received news of her admission to MIT, she was so excited and counted down the days to her freshman orientation. In her first year, she completed her math and science GIRs and started taking advanced math and science courses to explore possible majors. Even with her full class schedule, Phoebe managed to fit in a campus job at the music library and joined the MIT Symphony Orchestra to play her beloved flute. Music, especially classical music, was always a part of her life. Whenever she was in a car with her parents or friends, Phoebe would often ask to turn on the radio and listen to classical music. She downloaded many pieces of music on iTunes or from the web, which she enjoyed while tackling her schoolwork or doing her chores. Moments of joy and elation would follow. Oh yes, I played this piece before, or wow, I've got to find this music score and play it someday myself. Phoebe liked to say, it's almost done, but never complete until it's due. She packed a lot of living into her short life. So there's so many students that I know that are just like Phoebe. They're musicians, they're scholars, they're great at math and science, they have many talents, they're high achievers, they're uber achievers. And yet there's also this little switch that can flip when you feel like you're not good enough or that you've taken on something that you just can't handle. So we need to notice this and we need to help. So this broadcast is in memory of this beautiful young girl, Phoebe, and everyone that's like her. So if you know of someone, please, please, please reach out, share this broadcast. To me, Pressure Free is an amazing way. We are under so much pressure, and some of us crave it. We love the idea of new challenges and pressures. But we need to learn how to not release the stress hormones. If we cannot release the stress hormones, if I could have taught this to Phoebe, her innovation and her creativity, which she won an award for, would grow even more because her brain wouldn't be under the assault of fight or flight stress hormones. She would also not have been in such an anxious and depressed state, because that's what happens when we go into fight or flight. We can get extremely anxious and then we just keep triggering and go in a downward spiral. So Pressure Free can be an answer for so many people. So help me share this if you're willing to share, or share it to someone privately. I'm so on a mission, and as you know, I give a free strategy session to anyone interested. I'm also doing a free webinar on Wednesday night, so please share that out. Please share that link to people. Tune in. Thank you so much for the hearts this morning, and thank you for listening to Phoebe's story. It was so much like my own. And I really have just such a passion to help students. By the way, I've been reaching out to schools. I've reached out to MIT. I've reached out to Cornell. And I'm getting no's. Like, we're not interested. We already have resources on campus for students, but my resources are so different. So if you can help me get to colleges and help my son and I do an incredible 2-hour pressure-free workshop that could seriously prevent someone from taking their life. So I'm trying to get into these schools, and if you have an in and can help me, please, please, please share and just connect me to the person who's the decision maker. And I will share what Pressure Free is, how powerful it is, and how it can change someone's life. Hi, Tim. Hi, Gary. Thank you so much both for joining. I'm about to sign off, But today, this broadcast is really in prevention of suicide, and it's about noticing and being there for someone. Maybe it doesn't really seem like they need you, but believe me, if there's a little bit of sign, they probably do. Thank you for all the love, and I'm wishing you a fabulous, pressure-free day. This broadcast, I'll pop it right out so you can get on again. Thanks.